What's going on, Michigan fans? Clayton Sayfie with EJ Holland. We are from the Wolverine.com. You can check us out over there. We are running an absolutely great promotion right now. Get 25% off your year-long subscription at the Wolverine and receive a free $75 Nike gift card, perfect for the holidays. So check that out at the Wolverine.com. But we are talking about a huge recruiting weekend. We previewed it last week. It happened, and it was probably as good as expected for Michigan, or better in terms of how they stand with some targets, the bonding of the commits. So we'll get to our key takeaways from that. And there's quite a few, but we'll start with this. Just the bond of the class overall. A bunch of guys that during the pandemic, and everybody can relate to this, not meeting each other in person, not having that in-person interaction with kids they're going to be with for the next 3, 4, 5 years. But they were able to do that. I'd say, what was there, 12 commits or 11? So it's like about half the class or more getting together in person in the place they're going to be at for college. So I guess, EJ, you were able to catch up with some of these guys. You were at the field when they were throwing the ball around. Tommy Doman doing some trick kicks and whatnot. But I guess, and then you were able to catch up with some of them around Ann Arbor as well. And we actually had a few stop by our headquarters, our office in Ann Arbor on State Street. What was the overall vibe, I guess? What did you get out of talking to these kids, and what was kind of the feel that you had about how they bonded and how they all kind of enjoyed each other's company over the weekend?
Yeah, it was a great weekend. I mean, all those guys really got to know each other, spend some extended time with them. Their parents got to bond together as well. The first night they got there, they actually went out to Buffalo Wild Wings, and all the kids sat together and just talked, and it was kind of like meeting an old friend because they've been texting and video chatting and doing all this stuff for months. And the parents got to eat together Saturday. The kids went out and threw the ball around the field and just had some fun. And then you had the families go together to campus. They got an in-depth tour of the campus. The kids got to see the dorm rooms. They got to go into some of the buildings, and then they went around Ann Arbor, got to do some shopping for some Michigan gear. I know a lot of them got some sweet gear. So they got to do that, and then obviously they went down to a local eatery and watched the game, and then they mostly departed on Sunday. Junior Colson's the only one that stayed until Monday, but it was a great weekend for those guys to just get to know each other, just get to see each other, face to face, as opposed to over Zoom or over FaceTime or messaging on GroupMe or whatever. So I think I think it was a really successful weekend for the commits, and I think those guys are all just really locked in. Despite Michigan's struggles on the field, I feel like overall these kids believe in the program. They still like Michigan for what it is as a university, what the tradition is. Michigan is still blue blood. It's still the winningest program of all time. And then on top of that, you get an elite education. And I think those guys still value all of that despite the struggles on the field. And I've covered some really rough stretches in my past beats. At SMU, June Jones was a lame duck, even though that was a lower level program. And then at Texas, I had the Charlie Strong years, which weren't fun. And then even a little bit with Tom Herman before I left that beat. So and through all those classes, even at SMU, which again is obviously a lower level G5 program, there were decommits. There were a lot of decommits, and so here I don't think you're going to see many decommits. I think there's one or two guys that there's some concern about, but for the most part, this class appears to be really glued together. They just gelled so well this weekend. They've gelled so well over these past couple of months despite the pandemic. And I think these guys are locked in, and I think they truly believe, and I think the parents also believe that they can be part of the solution, part of the answer at a historic and just great program at Michigan.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I mentioned, we had a couple, actually more than a couple, several guys come through our office on Saturday and Sunday. did some interviews. Obviously, you're seeing that content if you're a subscriber of our YouTube channel, which we're on right now. Um, and we were talking to Christian Dixon, the mother of Christian Dixon, Michigan wide receiver commit. They have the same name, spelled differently. Um, but, this is the morning after a tough loss to Wisconsin. And you basically asked her, like, what was the reaction? What do you think about the early struggles for Michigan this season? And she said something like, the struggles I can take, wins and losses are one thing, but I feel comfortable leaving my son, coming from California, sending him to play for this coaching staff, to play at this university, to play with the fellow commits. And I think that spoke volumes. And I think that the confidence that each one of those parents kind of has in that respect is rubbing off on the other parents, and it just makes it stronger between their bond. And I know she mentioned just how good it was to catch up and get to know some of the other parents and form those bonds. They're going to be watching games together for 4 or 5 years. So, I thought that was pretty cool. And obviously it was, just cool to see, I guess, the bonds that everybody formed, including those parents. So that was the commits. Some of the targets were there. They also were able to bond with some of these guys that they could possibly be playing with in the next few years. Let's talk about a couple of the big ones, starting with Donovan Edwards, Rivals 100 running back. We talk about him all the time because he's the number one target remaining for Michigan in the class. You were the first to report that he would be joining the commits and some other recruits to watch the game on Saturday night. He had a game on Saturday at noon, made his way over to Ann Arbor afterwards. So talk about him a little bit. And then Sierra Wright, Rivals 100 corner, who's a kid that came into our office, and we had a great time talking to him. He is an actor in Space Jam 2 who plays Bronny James. So pretty cool there, and very obviously a good kid. Got to, meet his parents as well. Talk about, I guess, what you thought they, took out of this visit.
Yeah, Sierra's a better on-camera guy than me, so he should have my job now. But starting off with Sierra, because I think we want to kind of expand on a little more on Donovan, but Sierra obviously a very important target as well. Michigan needs cornerbacks; they need top-level cornerbacks. Sierra is a tall, long cornerback, so he fits kind of what Michigan usually looks for at that position. But on top of that, he has the necessary speed to go along with his size. He's a very athletic playmaker for a long time, and maybe even still right now. Rivals had him listed as an athlete, not as a corner, because he is very versatile. He is fast. He does have those really long arms, but Michigan likes him as a corner. I do as well. And he had a great time on campus. This was his first time seeing Michigan. Michigan's always been an intriguing school for him, even though he is a professional actor starring in films like Space Jam 2. He wants to major in business. Obviously, Michigan can sell the Ross School of Business, which is one of the best business schools in the country. And so he really does value academics. That's why you see, Notre Dame high on his list, Stanford high on his list, USC high on his list. These are all very, quality, high-level institutions. And so Michigan obviously fits that bill from the academic side. From the football side, he sees opportunity. I've been just every response when someone asks me what does Michigan sell right now, hashtag opportunity, because there's opportunity everywhere, especially at corner. And so Sierra, we asked him that, when we had him do the sit down recap. Do you see it as the corners are struggling and may not be getting developed, even though Zordich has a history of developing corners? Or do you see this as opportunity? And he said the latter. I see this as opportunity. And so we'll get to Will Johnson and Domani Jackson in a little bit, but they also see it as hashtag opportunity. So I feel like right now Michigan is right up there with USC and Notre Dame in the recruitment of Sierra Wright. And looks like he could be back on campus at some point. And then on top of that, one key thing, if you go back and watch the roundtable where we had Sierra's parents and Christian Dixon's mom, Sierra Wright's mom said, Christian Dixon's mom has been so great that the fact that she feels comfortable sending her kid all the way from California to play at Michigan makes me feel a little more comfortable. And Sierra and Christian have been playing in youth leagues together, 7-on-7 together. Same thing with Darion Green Warren, who's already in campus. So having Darion and Christian Dixon at Michigan, I think, will be very beneficial for the Wolverines in the recruitment of Sierra. Michigan's a riser in that recruitment. At one point on my confidence board, I had Sierra down in the cold category. We have hot, warm, or hot, warmer, warm, and then cool, and then cold. So he was all the way down there. So the fact that he made his visit, and now I feel like Michigan's a top 3 school in that recruitment, I think speaks volumes of how the trip went. And then, Donovan Edwards didn't get the full visit experience. Sierra did. Sierra was there at like early. He had a 6 a.m. flight out of LA. So Sierra got the entire visit experience. He was one of the first guys to arrive, and he was actually one of the last guys to leave. So he was there all 3 days. Donovan just came to watch the game on Saturday, so he didn't get to see any of the do the campus tours. He didn't go on the field with the guys. Remember, Donovan had a playoff game on Saturday, so he went out of his way after a playoff game to go over to Ann Arbor to watch the game with these guys, and that has a lot to do with JJ McCarthy, who's Michigan's quarterback commit. JJ, obviously a big vocal leader. Donovan and JJ visited before the dead period together, and they've kept in contact ever since and formed a really good friendship. And obviously, Michigan did not do very well on the field. It was a very terrible loss to Wisconsin. There's no other way to put it. Had Michigan kept it close, I think you could have seen even more positive buzz coming out of this weekend. It was still great, but I think it could have been spectacular had Michigan, even kept it close. Still, from talking to Donovan, I don't think he's putting an overstock into the season. Now, I think it helps if Michigan beats Rutgers and Penn State, and so those are some winnable games. If Michigan gets those, I think that helps with Donovan Edwards. But again, hashtag opportunity. The running backs are not doing very well. There's a terrible rotation, and I think Donovan sees a chance to play as a true freshman and be the bell cow. And so that's appealing to him. Playing with JJ McCarthy is appealing to him, and getting to meet some of those guys that are also highly ranked in the class, in Michigan's class, I think is going to help as well. So I'm still fearful of Georgia. He's been to Georgia in the past. Georgia obviously has an excellent running back tradition with guys like Todd Gurley and Noshawn Moreno and etc. But I feel
Swift,
like
Detroit Lion.
Yes, who's now starting to be the bell cow there. Good job, Matt Patricia. But I feel like he really values that tradition there. But I don't think he necessarily feels extremely comfortable with going down and playing in the South. I feel like he feels really comfortable at Michigan. Michigan is just giving him a reason to go to Michigan. Oklahoma's the other school that's very involved there. DeMarco Murray's the running backs coach, who obviously had some really good years with the Dallas Cowboys. And so I think that's appealing to Donovan. But I feel like they're going to land 5-star running back Kamar Wheaton, so that might, deter him. I think Michigan, he can be the big guy. He's been the big fish. He's been the number one guy on the board. There's no other guy. He's not only the number one running back, he's the number one overall target on Michigan's recruiting board. And so that's coming directly from program sources. He is the can't miss guy. And so I think Donovan understands that and values that. Penn State's still there, but Penn State's having an even worse year than Michigan. And Notre Dame's tried to make a run for Donovan, and just doesn't seem like he is all that interested in Notre Dame. I'm not saying he won't land there. Notre Dame's having a hell of a year, but at the same time, he doesn't seem like a Notre Dame kid. So everything is there for Michigan to land Donovan. It's just about picking up some wins on the field and showing that the program is stable. I think for him, it's not even about seeing big wins. I think it's just stability, so he can come in and help the team get those big wins.
Yeah, I've talked to him a couple times, and then obviously you have as well. And he's been a guy that we've talked about almost weekly here on all these shows because, like you said, he is the big fish. He's the holy grail that you wrote at one point for Michigan in this 2021 class. You kind of have that feel that he's just looking for the place that he's the most comfortable at, that is stable. Like you said, he's not, just looking for bond and friendships and comfortability. he also wants to see a stable program, but it does feel like Michigan has just given him so many reasons to pick them when it's all said and done. So obviously we'll see what he does here in the next month or so because he is going to be an early enrollee. And so he has to make a decision in the near future. Let's talk about the guys that everyone wants to hear about, though, in 2022. Domani Jackson, Will Johnson. Domani Jackson out of California, 5-star, number 2 recruit in the entire country in 2022. Will Johnson, the number 13 recruit, both defensive backs. Sound like they could be a package deal. EJ, you had a ton of buzz on them coming out of the weekend, a ton of confidence in the possibility that Michigan could land those two guys. Just tell me what your feeling is after talking to them over the weekend and hearing about what they saw from not only the rest of the recruits that were there, but being on campus and being together on campus and getting to know each other in person.
Yeah, I think that helped out a lot. You've seen a lot of Twitter mentions with Domani Jackson and Will Johnson. These two guys have never met each other. One's from Los Angeles, one's from Detroit. So like they've never connected at any point before this weekend. So it was good for them to have their first meeting ever at Michigan. And so they got to spend the entire day Saturday. Will made sure to get up and get over there early on Saturday. So he got to the field, spent some time with Domani, did the whole campus tour and dorm stuff with Domani, went out around Ann Arbor. Obviously, they watched the game together. So they spent all day together on Saturday. And, kudos to Tyler Martin, who's Michigan's Rivals 250 linebacker commit. He was with them all day Saturday as well and really, really pushing Michigan and selling those guys on why they should join him in Ann Arbor. In fact, today, as we were recording this, which is early in the week, Tuesday, it didn't just stop at the weekend, which is so cool. I thought it didn't stop at the weekend. Tyler actually called Will Johnson today and they spoke on the phone. So, those bonds from the weekend are carrying over. But back to Will and Domani, I mean, those guys see opportunity. They think that they can come in and play as freshmen, and they should. They're both 5-stars. And they know that there isn't a ton of great depth at the cornerback position. They see themselves as guys that can come and win jobs, especially Domani. He thinks he can come in and start right away. Will's I think Domani kind of brings kind of that West Coast flash, and Will brings kind of that more Midwest, like low-key hard worker mentality. Because when I asked Domani, he's like, oh yeah, I can play right away. And when I asked Will, he's like, yeah, I can play right away, but I'm going to have to work just like every other school, So they have just, kind of contrasting personalities and then contrasting play on the field. Domani is kind of the complete package. He's explosive. He's long. He's tall, but not overly tall. He has a lot of experience playing safety. I think he's a corner just because of his elite talent, but he can play all over the secondary. And then Will's just your typical island guy. If you saw the picture of them together, like Will has like 3 inches on Domani. I mean, every time I see Will, he looks taller. And I mentioned that Richard Sherman comparisons are lazy for a lot of people, but not for Will. Like that's a great comparison for Will. He has super long arms. He's tall. He moves well. He's deceptively athletic. We saw him make a lot of plays at wide receiver for Grosse Pointe South this season. So I've seen both of them in game. They are both 5-star level talents. They are both top 15 players in the country, and they would be massive lands for Michigan. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan has the lead for both of them coming out of the weekend. And I wrote as much as Into the Blue, which you can find over at thewolverine.com. We had over 2,000 words worth of Michigan recruiting scoop coming out of the weekend, including a ton on Domani and Will.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I know Michigan fans, for all the disappointment and all of the, for lack of a better term, I guess, heartbreak over the last 3 weeks, what you wrote on Monday, which isn't just fluff. I mean, this is real stuff coming out of the weekend recruiting-wise that you can be like, okay, the future is a little brighter than I thought. There's a light at the end of the tunnel if they're able to land some of these big fish, and obviously those are 2 of the biggest that Michigan could possibly be in on, especially in 2022. Anything else out of this weekend that we missed that you want to talk about that you picked up, that you thought was cool? Any extra nuggets on this huge weekend that was for Michigan that, like we said, it was just really cool that they were able to do this entire thing amidst a pandemic?
Yeah, just a few things. There were a couple other big 2022 targets on campus. Tyler Morris and Isaac Thompson, who stopped by our offices. Both of them did, and their parents. I think Michigan, I've had my future cast pick in for Tyler and feel even better coming out of the weekend again, despite those on the field struggles. And then Isaac actually set a decision date immediately after he left Ann Arbor. And I've had a future cast pick in for Michigan. It looks like others are starting to kind of hop on board on that momentum train. But I've kind of been on it for a few weeks now, or even a month. So I think that this visit kind of helped Michigan solidify itself as the leader heading into that decision date, which is December 4th. And then I also just think the parents did a fantastic job. I wrote that at the end of Into the Blue. I mean, everybody from Jim McCarthy, who helped organize the event and plan out the weekend, to Tom Doman, father of Tommy Doman, who helped lead kind of the campus tour and the tour around Ann Arbor. You had Mark Martin, father of Tyler Martin, work on a lot of the 2022 parents that were there. So I thought the parents did a great job, and they were all really positive. You had Christian Dixon's mom, Melanie Colson, Junior Colson's mom, all kind of, preaching the future and their belief in the coaching staff. So I think the parents did great. And I think you saw some of the Michigan commits kind of show off their personalities and show off their leadership in the class. You had Tommy Doman, who just, he's the kicker. He's just like the cool guy. Everybody likes Tommy. And so, I don't think that you'd find anybody on this planet that would say anything bad about Tommy. He's like the coolest kid. And then, JJ's obviously the face of the class. You had Junior Colson, who played in a playoff game on Friday, hopped on a plane at 6 a.m. So he had to be up around 4:30 after his game ended around 11 p.m. So I'm assuming he got no sleep. Hopped on a plane, got to Detroit, drove all the way out to Ann Arbor just to meet with those guys on the field at 10 a.m. So, it shows Junior's leadership and how much he values being part of this class, as well as his parents. You had Tristan Browns, who drove like 9 hours or 10 hours, whatever it is, all the way from the Baltimore area to Ann Arbor. And Tristan was one of the biggest personalities there. Everybody liked him too. So you had a lot of guys just, make a lot of sacrifices with kids, parents, everybody involved made a lot of sacrifices to get this weekend together. And it was a special weekend that I think created a lot of positive momentum for Michigan on the recruiting trail. Now the team just has to take care of its job.
Definitely. And like we talked about, some of the people that, even I was able to talk to and meet when they came to our office, we're just dealing with good people all around, from Junior Colson and the rest of the commits that we got to talk to their parents, and a cool weekend. Cool it was able to come together. Just overall, a ton of takeaways, a ton of good momentum, like you said, for Michigan on the recruiting trail. Do the job on the field, and this can continue. This momentum can continue on the recruiting trail. But a loaded weekend. That was our recap. Check us out at thewolverine.com. Use the promo code Nike75. You get 25% off of your subscription, plus a free $75 Nike gift card. So it's basically a free year. $75 for the site, $75 Nike gift card right back to you, and get that right now at thewolverine.com. We'll see everybody next time.